The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. Chapter 6. Healing Hands. In his studies with Morty, Gold had learned early on about Pokemon centers. The desire to battle and become strong was innate in every Pokemon's quintessence. Ever since men had first established methods of harnessing their aggressive power, the natural necessity of healing clinics had always been obvious. Animals that fought for a living were frequently hurt. As Pokemon training became ever more mainstream and systematic, the demand for faster and cheaper healing became more and more pronounced, until nearly every city in a league-sponsored region contained a Pokemon Center. This was the place that all trainers learned to seek out automatically as soon as they entered a new settlement. "Look at that," muttered Gold as he approached the red roof building. "I was so close last night. If I'd have gone for 5 more minutes, I might have spent the night here instead of outside. So would my camper friends, for that matter." "And you may not have known them as you do now," Spirit answered him. Though he could not see her, Gold was no longer surprised to hear her. Somehow, it felt familiar and natural, like the voice of his conscience. "Ironically, you call them friends," she continued, not unkindly. "But how would you truly feel if you saw any of them again? For they walk a similar path to you." "How would I feel?" Gold stopped, a few feet away from the double doors of the Pokemon Center, as he considered the question. I guess it would depend on which of them I ran into." Immediately, the Pokemon Center doors opened. Out walked none other than Todd and Ponytail, supporting Ivan between them. The latter, who was normally so quiet and withdrawn, seemed to be hyperventilating, his shoulders bobbing up and down as he fought for air. Over Ivan's frantic gasping, Gold could hear his companions arguing back and forth about something. He averted his eyes and stared determinedly down at the dirt, willing himself not to be seen as he listened in on their conversation. "It just means we'll have to be smarter in our approach," Ponytail was saying. "We should all go a little further west and catch Mareeps. It's the first gym anyway, so they'll expect us to demonstrate knowledge of basic type advantages." "That's beside the point," Todd raged back, asserting the same temper that he'd had the previous night. "Those prices were highway robbery. Why even have Pokemon centers if you're going to charge more than the price of the actual Pokemart medicine?" Ivan covered his eyes with his hands and uttered a prolonged moan. As the trio turned and headed away, Gold could hear Todd continue to speak and Ponytail respond. "This is what I'm talking about. Losing's no longer an option, and Ivan knows damn well that he's screwed because he got Chikorita. Like I said, he can just capture a Mareep or Geodude and what? Train it? That will involve a ton of battling and lumps to bring it up to standard, and it's not like healing is an affordable luxury now. Okay, then we make some fast money to pay for it later. I say you and I use a couple potions and take on Faulkner with what we've got now. They obviously made some kind of system with a sharp learning curve, and we simply have to be better than it." Gold strained his ears to hear more, but the 3 trainers were now hopelessly out of earshot. He raised his eyes and watched them disappear around the edge of a distant building, then looked back at the Pokemon Center. "Dad warned me that healing my Pokemon would be costly," he said softly, poking the dirt underfoot with his stick. "But I guess even he didn't realize it would be overkill like it apparently is." "Is it a just reward?" Spirit asked, in a tone that Gold could not read. "The 3 of them left you to fend for yourself, as they understood it, against wild predators. Now, in the heart of structured society, they are the ones struggling." "Todd, Ponytail, and Ivan," Gold mused slowly. I suppose I should mostly feel a grudge for Todd. He was the one who called me a liar and threw me out of camp. Skeptical, pessimistic Todd. He found himself scratching in the dirt with his stick, making human figures. Next to the tallest figure, he drew another with a ponytail poking out the back of its head. And I should feel the most sympathy for Ponytail after he defended me as a stranger and gave me a blanket. It was the same result in the end, but at least he tried to do me right. Gold drew a third figure, short and cringing, with a head that seemed to retreat into the shoulders. Unlike Ivan, who saw everything but did nothing, he just stood by and watched as though he had no part to play. Ivan is a weak person. As Gold spoke and drew in the dirt, he considered his feelings. He was passing judgment and judging himself at the same time, questioning if he had a right. They all had their own issues and situations to deal with, some of which he had now witnessed. How much more perspective was he yet lacking? And how could he pass judgment with such limited impressions? No. He straightened his back and clasped his stick firmly. He might never understand the whole story, but neither would he disregard what they had chosen to reveal of themselves. Overall, it was a negative impression. Yet, at the same time, he could see that they were suffering together. That, at least, they all had in common. "I want to help them," he said at last, and was surprised to hear the words come from his own mouth, even more so to realize that he meant them. Even if they don't all deserve it. Is that strange of me? For a moment, he could feel a bloom of happiness that was not his own, and it seemed to him that Spirit had been testing him, and now rejoiced at his answer. When her voice sang out again, the jubilation was undeniable. "Strange to the world, yes! But there is a path of life that is not of this world, a way to live that defies the world with its higher truth. I will help you walk it, for as long as you choose to follow." Gold smiled, somewhat in spite of himself, since he could not fully understand what Spirit was telling him. "So, what should I do now?" he asked, looking around. "Plant seeds in their hearts." He looked down to the berry core resting in his hand, then to the stick figures he had scratched in the dirt just off the Pokemon Center path. If Spirit had meant something more metaphysical, it was lost on him. Instead, he took the literal meaning and began to dig with the butt end of his stick. 3 little mounds he dug, each in the heart area of the dirt campers he'd drawn. Then, he picked at the core of his berry, extracting 3 seeds from it. There were plenty more lingering inside, but for the moment, he proceeded to finish burying the 3.